Good day, students who are doing cost accounting 2. I will be doing this exercise that is out of 25 marks, and this exercise is on production budgets. It says Kancho Ltd manufactures and sells two products, namely Waxit and Flexit. The company's projections for the year 2006 are given as follows. So now this company has two products. Product 1 is Waxit and product 2 is Flexit. And we are given the expected sales or the projected, as they said that this is projected information. So now here are the projected sales, which is 61,500 and 46,500 for both Waxit and Flexit. And we are given the selling price per unit, and the selling price is 50 rand and 70 rands per unit. Then after, we are given opening stock in units. These are the number of units that were there in the beginning, the number of the completed units, which is 30,000 completed units in the beginning of the period, and 15,000 units of product Flexit at the beginning of the period, and these are the completed units. At the end of the period, they expect that there will be 36,000 of the value of the finished goods, and there will also be 13,500 of the value of the completed or the finished goods. For Waxit, 36,000, and Flexit, 13,500. We are then given the material requirement per unit. That means what do we need to know per unit. They say material, which is material A and material B. That means these products, they need two materials, which is material A and material B. And they tell us that material A, we need 3 kgs of material A in order to complete product Waxit, and we also need 3 kgs of material B in order to complete product Waxit. That means product Waxit needs 2 material for it to be complete, which is material A, and they need 3 kgs of that material, and they also need 3 kgs of material B in order for product Waxit to be complete. And above that, we have other kgs per unit that are required in terms of material, and they say material A, we need 4 kgs of material A in order to do product Flexit, and we also need 2 kgs of material B in order to complete product Flexit. So now that means all these products, they need 2 materials, which is material A and material B, at the different kgs per unit. And this becomes very crucial that these 2 products, they require 2 materials for them to be complete. Then after, we are given labor hours per unit. Remember, this is per unit. That means it takes 0.25 hours to complete 1 unit. 0.2 hours to complete 1 unit, and it also takes 0.5 hours to complete 1 unit of product Flexit. However, it takes 0.25 labor hours to complete 1 unit of product Waxit. Then after, we are given the labor rate per hour. That means the amount employees are paid per hour when they manufacture a product. And we are told that employees, they are paid 14 rand in order to complete 1 unit of product Waxit. And we are also told that it takes, employees are paid 16 rand in order to complete product Flexit. So now these are the labor cost per unit in order to complete each of the product that we have, because we have 2 products. Then after, we have factory overheads that are given as the rate per hour, which is factory overheads per labor or per direct labor rate per hour. That means our factory overheads are incurred at 16 rand per hour. That means for 1 hour, there will be a 16 rand that will be incurred at the cost of factory overheads. Then for the second product, which is product Flexit, we have 18 rand of factory overheads. that are incurred per hour. Therefore, now that means we have 16 rand for product to exit and 18 rand for product to exit. Remember, our factory overheads, they are per hour, not per unit. When they are per unit, we'll treat them as per unit when we do the budgets. However, you'll see all of that in this video and also in the next videos. Then now we are given the next information regarding the materials. Now we have material A and we have material B. They give us the opening stock of material. Now these are the opening units of material in kgs. That means at the beginning of the period, they expect that there will be 30,000 kgs of material and 24,000 kgs of material B. And the closing stock with regard to material A is 36,000 kgs, and the closing stock with regard to material B is 22,000 kgs. And these kgs of material are costing 1 rand 50 cents with regard to material A. That means to buy 1 kg of material A, we have to pay a cost or a price of 1 rand 50. And to buy 1 kg of material B, we need to pay 2 rand for that. That means the cost per kg of material B is 2 rand and the cost per kg of material A is 1 rand 50 cents. And these are the kgs that will be applicable when we do the material purchase budget. So now let us see what we are required to do. We are required to do the production budget, the material purchase budget, the direct labor budget, the factory overheads budget, the manufacturing cost budget, the finished goods inventory budget, then after the cost of sales budget. These are the 7 budgets that we are required to do in this exercise, starting with the production budget. So now let us start with our production budget, and we know that our production budget start with the expected sales of 61,540. Our expected sales of 61,546,500. So now we are starting with our production budget, which is the first requirement in the exercise. So now we are doing the production budget. Production budget for the 2 products. Remember, production budget for the 2 products, which is Waxit and Flexit. Waxit and Flexit. These are the 2 products that we have. So now we just have to draw the 2 lines so that our work is bit neat in between. And we know that our production budget starts with the expected sales. It starts with the expected sales. That means the sales that the company expects to make for a given period. And our expected sales are given to be 61,500 for the first product, which is product Waxit, and 46,500 for product Flexit. So now we write those expected sales as they are, which is a total of 61,500 and a total of 46,500 units that this company expects to sell in this given period. Then after, we always have to plus the closing stock. Why do we have to add the closing stock? Is because closing stock is the units that will be left at the end of the year. However, the closing stock are the units that would have been produced in the current period. So now we want to know the units that will be produced. So now closing stock are the units that would have been produced in the current period, but by the end of the year, they were left unsold. So now closing stock, whenever you do production budget, you must always add your closing stock. So now we are dealing with the production budget, which is the production budget of finished goods. And therefore now, because the production budgets of finished goods, therefore now we'll take our closing stock, which is in units of the completed units, which is 36,000 and 13,600 for product Waxit and Flexit. Then we take the closing stock of 36,000 and we write that 36,000 and 13,500 for product Flexit. Then we draw a line. Then after this will give us what is called units required. What is called units that are required. Then we say units required, and units required will be the total of the two, which is 61,500 plus 36,000 units. Then that will give us the total of 97,500. Then after we add 46,500 and plus 13,500, that will give us the total of 60,000 units. That will give us the total of 60,000 units. So now from here we have to deduct the opening stock, because the opening stock, we have to deduct the opening stock because the opening stock was produced already in the previous accounting period. So now we have to subtract our opening stock. Then we say less opening stock, less our opening stock, less opening stock. Now, why do we subtract our opening stock? As I have already emphasized that before, is the fact that opening stock was produced in the previous accounting period. So now it will not be produced in the current accounting period because it was already produced in the previous period. That is why it became an opening stock. So now opening stock, since it will not be produced in the current period, then it will have to be deducted. Therefore, now here is our opening stock of 30,000 units and 15,000 units. So now we take all that. That means we say less 30,000 units, 30,000 units and less 15,000 units, because these units would have been produced in the previous accounting period and it became an opening stock in the current accounting period. So now we will not be producing units that were already produced in the previous accounting period. Remember, we are doing a production budget where we want to know how many units must be produced in the current accounting period, because opening stock was already produced in the previous accounting period, as I've been highlighting that for the third time now. Then now this will give us production required. That means the number of units that are required to be produced. Production required, and our production required will be the difference between units required, which is 60,000 less 15,000. That will give us 45,000 units that will be required for production. Therefore, 97,500 less 30,000. This will give us 67,500 units that will be required for production in the current accounting period, because opening has been removed since opening was produced already in the previous accounting period. So now we have eliminated or removed the opening stock because it was produced in the previous accounting period. So now our production budgets, this is where it ends, and we know that these are the units that need to be produced in the current accounting period. Then now we have to do the second budget, and the production budget, it ends here, and it's very important. Please keep the format on the left hand side, because this format will not be given to you in the exam. You have to know what to add and what to write here on this side, and this is not a very complicated budget to forget. Is very easy and very straightforward budget. So now we go to the second budget. We go to the second budget, and the second budget is the material purchase budget, where we are focusing now on the kgs of material that need to be purchased. Material purchases budget. Remember, we have two types of material, material A and material B. We have two types of material, material A and material B. So now we want to know how many kgs of material A and how many kgs of material B must be purchased in order for us to produce the units that are required for production, because these are the units that we need to produce, and these are the units that we need to produce. Then the question is, how many kgs do we need to buy in order to make sure that we manufacture exactly 67,500 units and 45,000 units of product Flexit. So now these are the kgs of material that we are looking for. And therefore now, hence this budget, we are dealing with the material. Therefore now it will only be the material that we'll be focusing on. So now this is the material purchases budget, or material budget, just because of space. And we have two materials, which is material A and material B. So now I'll just material A and I write material B on this side. Then on top I just say material. So these are the materials that we have, material A and material B, which is the material that are needed to produce both the products that we have, which is product Waxit and product Flexit. So now let us draw the line, then we see now what to begin or where to begin from here. Remember, we are looking for the total kgs that are needed to manufacture the two products. And we know from the information that is given here that product Waxit requires 3 kgs of material, which is material A, and product Waxit requires also 3 kgs of material B. So now that means each product requires 2 material. And again, product Flexit requires 4 kgs of material A, and product Flexit requires 2 kgs of material B. So now both products, they require material A and material B. So now we need to calculate using these units that we have in place here. So now when we do such, we have to write the products that we are dealing with. Where we say on the left hand side Waxit, we say Waxit, and we know that Waxit, we need to say 67,500 units, because these are the units that we want to manufacture, which is 67,500 units. And to manufacture those units, we need different kgs of material, which is 3 kgs for material A and 3 kgs also for another material, which is material B. So now let us multiply this by 3 is to 3. That means we have to multiply this first by 3 and multiply this secondly by 3. So now let us do that. Then I explain why do we multiply this by 3 and we multiply also by 3. We say 67,000 units that we need to manufacture, because these are the units that we need to manufacture, 67,500. And how many kgs do we need for product Waxit to manufacture 67,500 units? We need 3 kgs per unit, which is the 3 kgs per unit that is given here. We need 3 kgs of product Waxit, which is for material A. So now that is why in this case we multiply by the 3 kgs and also another 3 kgs for material B. Therefore now it will be times by 3, and this will give us 202,500. That means we need 202,500 kgs of material B in order to manufacture the 67,500 units of product Waxit. Then after, obviously, under B it will be the same, 202,500. So now we have multiplied by that. That means we have allocated the 3 kgs that are needed for product Waxit, which is the 3 kgs of material A, and we have allocated the 3 kgs of material B to who? To product Waxit, because each product need 2 materials, which is material A and material B. So now we have done that, and here is the product, which is product Waxit. Here is product Waxit. Product Waxit need 3 kgs of material A, and there's material A, and product Waxit also need 3 kgs of material B, and here's material B, 3 kgs, and that is the allocation of that under material B, because these are the materials that we have. So now please take note of that, because this is a little bit tricky to calculate and to easily understand. So now we go to the second product, and we need 2 materials also for the second product. The second product is Flexit, and Flexit also need 2 materials. Flexit, we need to manufacture how many units first? we need to manufacture 45,000 units. These are the units that we need to manufacture for product Flexit. So now if we need to manufacture this, how many kgs do we need for product Flexit, which is how many kgs of material A do we need for product Flexit, and how many kgs of material B per unit that we need to produce product Flexit. So we know that we need 4 kgs of material A in order to manufacture product Flexit, and we also need 2 kgs of material B in order to manufacture product Flexit. So now we are allocating this based on the kgs that are needed in order to manufacture this or each product. So now that is why we'll multiply this by 4 and also multiply it by 2. So now we say how many kgs of material A that are needed to manufacture product Flexit, and 4 kgs times by the number of units that we want to manufacture, which is 45,000 units. Therefore now this will give us the total of 18. It will give us the total of 18,000. Therefore now let me just confirm that it is 4 times by 45,000 units. This will give us a total of 100 and let me confirm, that is 45,000. Let me just recalculate that. If is it 45,000 or 46,400, 60 minus 15,000. Okay, that is 45,000. So now we multiply that, which is 45,000 units, multiply that by 4 kgs of product, and that will give us 180,000 of the material. Then we write that under material A. We write that under material A. Then it will be material A 180,000. Material A, it will be 180,000. Then material B, we say 45,000. We multiply the 45,000 by 2, and that will give us the number of units of kgs of material that will be allocated to the second product, which is 90,000. That will be 90,000 units. So now we have allocated all the kgs that are needed to manufacture the 45,000 units of product Flexit. Then now we can draw the line and we calculate the total of the two. We can draw the line and we calculate the total of the two. Therefore now this will give us 202,500 plus 180,000. This will give us 382,000 kgs 500, and this will also give us 202,500 plus 90,000, and this will give us 292,500. So now these are the kgs of material that are required. These are the kgs of material that are required. Therefore now from this point now we start doing the same thing where we say material required. This is material required. Material required. Then after, from the material required, now we are able to subtract the opening and we add the closing. We are able now to subtract the opening and we add the closing. And I'm going exactly now on that step. Then we'll say plus closing stock as usual. Remember, when it comes to budget, guys, we always add the closing stock and we always subtract the opening stock. Then we'll say plus closing stock, and our closing stock, let us check how many kgs. So there's closing stock of material A, and our closing stock we have our closing stock. Okay, there is our closing stock, which is 36,000 kgs and 22,000 kgs. 36,000 kgs and 22,000 kgs. So now let us write that closing stock and we add it. 36,000 kgs and 22,000 kgs. And after we have added the closing stock, then this will give us the total material required. This will give us the total material required. And when it gives us the total material required, then we can immediately now deduct the opening stock. Total material required. Total material required. Total material required. And our total material required is the sum of 292,500 plus 22,000, and this will give us 314,500. This will give us 314,500, and the second one will be 382,500 plus 36,000, and this will give us 418,500. 418,500. So now we have allocated for that, and from here we immediately now go to subtract the opening stock. Subtract the opening stock. And the reason why we subtract the opening stock, remember, this is material purchase budget. We are calculating how many kgs of material need to be purchased. So now in this case, we don't need to buy material that was already there in the beginning of the period, because opening material was already bought last year and is in the storeroom already. So now we don't need to buy it because it's already in the storage. And because it's already in the storage, therefore now we have to subtract it, because the material, which is 418,500, is the material that we need in order to produce the 67,500 units and the 45,000 units. But in this case, we already have opening material that was already there beginning of the period, which was bought in the previous accounting period. So now because it's already there, we just need to subtract our opening stock as usual. So now opening stock, when it comes to budgets, it always gets to be deducted. And as I've shown you that our opening stock is given, and our opening stock is given to be an amount of 30,000 kgs and 24,000 kgs. So now these are the opening stock, 30,000 kgs and 24,000 kgs respectively. So now we record that 30,000 kgs and 24,000 kgs. 24,000 kgs. So now because of that, then we can deduct and get to the end of this budget. For 18,500 less 30,000, and this gives us 388,500. This gives us 388,500. Then after we say 314,500 and we less 24,000. After we subtract 24,000, this gives us 290,500. These are the material purchases, or purchases in kgs, meaning this is the material that need to be purchased. Purchases in kgs. Purchases in kgs. So now this is the material that need to be purchased. However, now we need to know now, if this is what need to be purchased, how much money must we buy this material for now? This is the part where we are calculating now the value of our purchases, which is in rands. Therefore, now this is the end of the first budget, which is material in kgs. Then we continue with the second budget, which is the material purchases in rands now. Therefore, now we multiply by the cost price, multiply that by cost price per kg. Cost price per kg. Then we ask ourselves, if we need to buy 388,500 kgs of material A, how much price are we going to pay for each kg? We know that we're going to pay an amount of R1.50 per kg. Here is the cost price per kg. So now the minute we multiply by the cost price per kg, therefore now this will be able to give us the purchases in rands. And material B is costing or is bought at a price of R2, or the cost per kg of material B, it is R2 per kg. So now we have to multiply by the R2, so that we say we need to buy 290,500 kgs at R2. Therefore now how much will be the price that at the end of the day we have to pay? Therefore now that will give us purchases in kgs. That will give us purchases in kgs, which is the price that we need to pay for the material. Then we say 290,500, we multiply this by 2, it gives us 581,000 rands. So now this is the value of the material that we need to pay. Then after, we also say for the first material, which is material A, R1.50, multiply by 388,500, which are the kgs that we need to purchase. Therefore now this is 582,750 rands. So now these are the purchases in rands. Sorry, not in kgs. These are the purchases in rands, not in kgs. Purchases in rands. Let me just change my pen. Purchases in rands, not in kgs. So now these are the rands of material that we need to budget for in terms of our purchases. So now, very importantly, when it comes to this budget, I want to emphasize this for the last time. When it comes to this budget, there is something that is very crucial, more especially when it comes to this area. This area is the one that is very crucial, and I want to emphasize it for the last time. In this case, remember, we have two materials, material A and material B, and we have two products, product Waxit and product Flexit, and each product requires two materials, which is material A and material B. And in this case, we know that product Waxit requires 3 kgs of material per unit, that we know of. So now that is what we are doing. In this case, we say product Waxit requires how many kgs per unit of material A? It requires 3 kgs of material A and 3 kgs of material B, if I can simplify it like that. Why do I say that? Is because the exercise told us that our products, here are the products that we have, which is product Waxit. Product Waxit requires 3 kgs of material A, and product Waxit requires 3 kgs of material B. So now that's what it means. This is per unit. So now that is why in this case I allocate the A and the B, which is 3 and 3. And product Flexit. Product Flexit requires 4 kgs of material A. Yes, material A. And product Flexit again requires 2 kgs of material B. So now that is why under 4 I can say A here on top of the 4, and I can say B on top of the 2. So now, in other words, I said 45,000 because these are the units that we need to produce, which is production requirement. Remember, this is what we need to produce. And for us to produce these units, we will need 4 kgs per unit, in fact. So now it means we have to say the 45,000 units multiplied by the kgs per unit. That will give us the total kgs of material that we need to buy in order to manufacture 45,000 units of product Flexit. And at the same time, we said 45,000, multiply this by 2, and that gave us 90,000, which is the kgs of material B that are needed to manufacture 45,000 units of product Flexit. Then after, I did the same thing with regard to product Waxit. Product Waxit, we said we need 3 kgs per unit. And we said that we require to produce 67,500. And 67,500, we multiply that by 3, and it gave us 202,500. What does that mean? It means we need 202,500 kgs of material A in order to manufacture product Waxit. At the same time, we need 202,500 kgs of material B in order to complete product Waxit. That is why we said 67,500 times by 3, we allocated that to A, and 67,500 times by 3, which is for material B, and we allocated that under the material B for product Waxit. So now with that, I think I have clarified you in terms of understanding this part, because this part is very crucial to this exercise. So now we have done this budget, and the minute this budget is done up to this stage, then now we can continue. We go to the third budget, which is the direct labor budget, if I am not mistaken. So now our next budget is the direct labor budget, and this budget is preferred that it can be done also per unit and also in total. Even this one I could have done this per unit, but I prefer to do it in total. So now let me do this budget in total, then I'll also show you how you can do this per unit. This is the direct labor budget. Direct labor budget. Direct labor budget. Remember, we are budgeting for the two products, because the direct laborers are the ones that will be involved in the production of the product, which is product Waxit and product Flexit. These are the two products that will be manufactured. That is why now we say, okay, if these products will be produced, then now we need to know the number of units that need to be manufactured first. That is why this budget starts with the production budget. It starts with the production budget. Production required. We start here with the production required. That means the units that are required for production. How many units do we need to produce? We need to produce 61,500 units here. And we need to produce 45,000 units here. Where do I get that? It comes straight from the production budget. Here is the 67,500 units, which is production required, and 45,000 units, which is production required too. And this budget becomes very critical because all the budget, they depend on this budget. If you remember, also under the material budget, we needed the 67,500 units, which come from there, and we needed the 45,000 units, which came from there. So now the production budget, if it's wrong, that means almost all your budgets will be wrong. So now this is what we need, and we go to the next budget. Here we have recorded the production that is required. So now remember, this is the direct labor budget. So now if this is the direct labor budget, we need to know, how are the employees paid? Are the employees paid per hour, or are the employees paid per unit? That is the first question you must ask yourself. Because if employees are paid per unit, then we will do this differently. But if they are paid per hour, then we'll also do this budget a little bit different in terms of calculations. So now in this case, we are given our labor rate per hour. And we are given the labor hours per unit, which is 0.25 and 0.5. That means we first need to know how many hours in total are needed to manufacture 45,000 units, and how many hours are needed to manufacture the 67,500 units. So now in this case, we have to multiply by labor hours per unit. Multiply this by labor hours per unit. Labor hours per unit. Because these are the number of units that need to be manufactured. But we need to know the total hours that are needed to manufacture these units. Hence, we multiply by 0.25 and we multiply by 0.5, which are the labor hours per unit. Take that into account. Here are the labor hours per unit, which is 0.25 hours and 0.5 hours. And if you multiply the units by the labor hours, this will give us the total labor hours that are required to produce the given units for each of the products that we manufacture. So now we are just busy with that budget. Then that will give us total direct labor hours required. That will give us total direct labor hours required. That will give us total direct labor hours required. Labor hours required. Total direct labor hours required. How do we calculate that? We say 61,000 or 67. It's not 6. It's 67,500, not 67,500. Confirm that 67,500. Then we multiply that by 0.25. That is 67,500 times by 0.25. 67,500 multiplied by 0.25. That will give us 16,875 hours. It means we need 16,875 hours in order to manufacture 67,500 units. Then after we say again 45,000 units, multiply that by 0.5, it means we need 22,500 hours in order to manufacture 45,000 units. So now these are the labor hours that are required, and from here now we can multiply by the labor rate per hour, because our employees are paid per hour. Our labor rate per hour, it is given to be 14 rand. This is the labor rate per hour, 14 rand and 16 rand. That means for an employee who is working or who is producing product worksheet, that employee will be paid 14 rand per hour. Or for an employee who is producing product flexit, that employee will be paid an amount of 16 rand per hour. So now we multiply by 14 and 16. Multiply that by 14 and 16, which is direct labor cost per unit. We multiply that by labor rate per hour. Labor rate per hour, in fact, that is labor rate per hour. We multiply that by labor rate per hour. Then after, it will give us total labor cost. This will give us total labor cost. This will give us labor cost in rands. Labor cost in rands. Then let us check how much is our labor cost. 22,500, multiply that by 16. It will give us 360,000 rands. 360,000 rands. And 16,875, multiply that by 14, it will give us 236,250. 236,250. So now from here, now we got our labor cost in rands. However, if you are required to calculate the labor, the direct labor budget per unit, because now I want to do it per unit, where we calculate our labor cost per unit. our labor cost per unit, because the labor cost that we are given, it is in total. But if it was given or required to be calculated per unit, you'll just say 236,250 divide by 67,500, because these are the units that you want to produce. Divide by 67,500, and this will give us 350 cents per unit. Then the same thing, will take the 360,000, we divide this by the number of units that you need to manufacture. 360,000 divided by 45,000, and this will give us 8 rand per unit. That means the company will incur 350 cents in order to manufacture worksheet product of labor, and the company will also incur 8 rand of labor in order to manufacture product flexit. So now these are the labor cost per unit. These are the labor costs per unit. So now let us continue in that note. At the same time, if we wanted, we could have said how many hours it takes to produce one product. We know that it takes 0.25 hours to produce one product, and we know that employees are paid 14 rand. I want to emphasize on this, how you can calculate it differently. That means if we wanted, we could have said 0.25, which is 0.25 labor hours per unit, multiply that by the labor rate per hour, which is 14, and that could still give us the same 350 cents, which is the labor hours per unit multiplied by the rate per hour. You still get the same 350 cents. Or else, in the case of product flexit, we say it takes 0.5 hours to complete one unit, and employees are paid 16 rand per hour. Then we can say 0.5 times by 16, that still gives us the same 8 rand, which is the labor cost per unit will still be 8 rand, either way you calculate it. So now, however, the cost per unit was not required, but it is still very critical for you to calculate it per unit. So now we go to the next budget. This is one of the budgets that are so straightforward, where students can just get free marks and free marks. So now let us continue to the next budget. The next budget will be budget number 4. And budget number 4, I think it is the manufacturing overheads budget. Budget number 4, it is the manufacturing, which is the factory overheads budget. That is, yes, manufacturing overheads budget. Then let us do that budget for the two products, manufacturing overheads budget or factory overheads budget. And our factory overheads budget, we first have to check if our factory overheads are per unit or are they based on the labor on hours. Then we do it for the first product, worksheet. The first product, worksheet, and second product, it is flexit. And now let us check first our factory overheads. How are they based, or what are they based at? Our factory overhead are based on labor are based on the rate per hour. Here the factory overheads per hour, which is 16 rand per hour and 18 rand per hour. If they are based on or the rate of overheads per hour, that means it is based on the labor hours. The minute your factory overheads are per hour, it means it is based on labor hours. So now if it's based on labor hours and want to calculate per unit, you can just say 16 times by 0.25 and 18 multiply that by 0.5. That will give us our overhead rate per unit, but we need it to be in total. Then I'll still show you how to calculate the per unit. So now they are based per unit. It means we need to know the total direct labor hours. We need to start under the total direct labor hours, and I think we do have the total direct labor hours. Total direct labor hours. Total direct labor hours, and our total direct labor hours are given to be 16,875 and 22,500 total direct labor hours required. So now that is where this budget will start. because it is based on labor hours. Therefore, now we say 16,875, and here it will be 22,500. Then after we multiply by the overhead rate per hour, multiply that by overhead rate per hour, and our overhead rate per hour, it is given for the overheads as 16 rand, and here is our 16 rand, and here is our 18 rand. So now we multiply that by our overheads rate per hour, which is 16 rand and 18 rand. Then this will give us the same case where we multiply. Then after it will be 16,875, multiply that by 16, it will give us 270,000 rands. 270,000 rands. Then after we say 18, multiply this by 22,500, and it will give us a total of 405,000. 405,000. 405,000. Therefore, now this will be a total of the manufacturing overheads. Total factory 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 overheads. So now these are the total factory overheads. So now let us calculate our total factory overheads per unit. This is also not required, but it's very important to understand it. Total factory overheads per unit. Total factory overheads per unit. Total factory overheads per unit. Our total factory overheads per unit, we ask ourselves, how many hours does it take to complete one unit? We know that the number of hours it takes to complete one unit does not change. It still remains as that, as 0.25 for product worksheet and 0.5 for product flexit. It is also given under our additional information that the labor hours per unit is 0.25 and 0.5 labor hours per unit. That means these are the number of hours it takes to complete one unit, the number of hours it takes to complete one unit. So now because of that, we can just say, when it comes to this, and to say 0.25 multiply by the overhead rate per unit, with overhead rate per hour, which is times by 16. This is our overhead rate per hour because it is per hour. So now we multiply by the rate per hour. This will give us 4 rand per unit. Then after we say 0.5, which is the number of hours, direct labor hours it takes to complete one unit, and we multiply that by the rate per hour, which is 18 rand, and this will give us 9 rand. However, you could have just said total cost. Here is the total cost of our overheads, and our total cost of the overheads is given here as 270,000. Here you can say 270,000 divided by the number of units that we need to produce. Remember, production requirement, it is 67,500. That has not changed. The number of units that we need to produce, which is production required, has not changed. So now it means if we want, we can say 270,000 divided by 67,500. That will still give us the same 4 rand if you want to do it in that manner to calculate it per unit, or else 405,000 you divide it by the units that are required for production, and units required for production is 45,000 for product flexit. You divide that by 45,000, that will give us 9 rand, which is 9 rand of the factory overhead per unit. So either way you would have done it, you still get to the same amount. Remember, this part is not required, but it's just important for your understanding. Similarly with this one, this was not required, this was not required, but it's very important you understand how to calculate this budget per unit, because sometimes they can be required to be calculated per unit. Therefore, now we have done the 4th budget, and we go to the 5th budget. The the requirement in terms of calculation of the budget in this exercise. Number 5, we are required to calculate manufacturing cost budget. Remember, manufacturing cost budget, it is direct material, direct labor, plus manufacturing overheads. This is what this is all about. The same cost accounting one that you know, where the manufacturing cost is the direct material, direct labor, plus manufacturing overheads. We do exactly the same thing. So now I will do this per unit, then after I will also show you how you can do that in total. So now if we are required to do this, we can do it in either per unit or in total. This is the manufacturing cost budget, manufacturing cost budget, manufacturing. This is manufacturing cost budget, and it's manufacturing cost budget, manufacturing cost budget, and I will do this budget per unit for product worksheet and for product flexit. I will do it for both products because we are required to do that. And as I have mentioned, that budget, which is manufacturing cost, is made of direct material, direct labor, and manufacturing overheads. So now in this case, we start with the direct material, and we know that we have two types of material, which is material A. We have material A. Then after we have material B, we have material B. So now all these material are needed for both the products that we have. So now material A, we know that material A is needed in the first product, and material A is also needed in the second product. Here we have material A. Material A has 3 kgs. That means we need 3 kgs of material A in order to produce product worksheet. And the material A is bought at the price of R1.50. This is the price or the cost of material A. So now that means we say 3 kgs of material A that are allocated or that are needed to manufacture product worksheet. Multiply that by the cost of material A. Here is material A, and the cost of material A is R1.50. So now meaning under material A, we say R1.50, multiply that by 3 kgs, and that will give us the cost per unit in product worksheet, which is R1.50 times by the kgs of 3. That will give us R4.50, which is the direct material cost for product worksheet. So now that will give us R4.50 for product worksheet. Then after we go to the second stage, and the second stage we also open brackets, and we say material A is also required in product flexit. That means product flexit also needs some kgs of material A. And here is material A, and here are the 4 kgs, and these are the 4 kgs of material A that are needed to produce the product worksheet. However, material A is costing R1.50. The cost of material A is still R1.50, and there's material A. Hence, now we have to say 4 kgs of material A, and we multiply this by the price of R1.50 or the cost of material A. That will be the direct material cost for product worksheet with regard to material A. So now that means we have to say R4 times by R1.50, and this will give us R6 to be allocated under product worksheet, and that will be R6 that goes to product worksheet, which that R6 was R1.50. R1.50 times that by 4 kgs of material A. Then now we go to material B. We go to material B, and we open brackets, and we say now how many kgs of material B are needed for product worksheet, and how many kgs of material B are needed for product flexit. So now here is material B, and we need 3 kgs of material B also to produce the product worksheet. And now material B, which is there is material B. Material B cost us 2 rand to buy from the supplier. So now the cost of material B is 2 rand, and we need 3 kgs of material B in order to produce a product worksheet. That is why now we have to say 3 kgs, multiply that by 2 rand, that will give us 6 rand to be allocated the cost of material for product worksheet. So now that will be 2 times that by 3, that will give us 6 rand, and that 6 rand will be allocated to product worksheet. Then after we look for material B that is needed for product flexit. So now that means we need material B, and in material B we need 2 kgs of material B in order to complete product flexit. And material B is, there is material B. Material B is costing an amount of 2 rand. That is the cost of material B. The cost of which material? Material B, which is 2 rand. So now it means we'll say 2 kgs of material B that are needed to manufacture product worksheet. We multiply that by the cost. Therefore now that will give us 4 rand. It will be 2 kgs times by 2 rand. That will give us 4 rand to be allocated to product worksheet. Therefore now here we'll have our 4 rand. Then now immediately we go to the next part, and the next part we have to do the calculation of the direct labor now, or just add our direct labor cost. And we know that our direct labor cost was already calculated above. We calculated our direct labor cost above as an amount of 3.50 and an amount also of 8 rand. Here was the direct labor cost per unit, 3.50 rand, and I have shown you how to calculate that. And the direct labor cost per unit was 8 rand for product flexit. So now we just say 3.50 rand of product worksheet and 8 rand for product flexit. Then after we add our overheads per unit, because we had our overheads per unit. Our overheads per unit were already given to us, and our overheads per unit calculated to the above calculations. And here the overheads cost per unit. Overheads per unit was 4 rand and 9 rand, and I've shown you that total factory overheads was 4 rand and 9 rand for product worksheet and flexit respectively. So it will be 4 rand and 9 rand respectively, and we record the 9 rand. Then after we have our total direct material separately here, and we have our total direct material because we added 2 amounts. So now that means it will be 4 rand 50 cents for product worksheet plus 6 rand. That will give us 10 rand 50 cents of material. Then after we say 6 plus 4, which is 6 rand plus 4 rand, 6 rand plus 4 rand, that will give us 10 rand of direct material cost. Therefore now we say 10 rand plus 8 rand plus 9 rand. Therefore now that will give us a total of 27 rands. Then after we say now 10 rand 50 cents plus 3 rand 50 cents plus 4 rand, this will give us 18 rands. So now if this is 18 rand, therefore now this will be the cost per unit. This will be cost per unit, or our manufacturing cost per unit. So now this being our cost per unit, therefore now we continue to the next budget. And please be informed that the finished goods budget is based on the closing stock. The finished goods budget is based on the closing stock. This, in other words, is the closing stock, which is closing stock. So now we are doing the finished goods budget, which is calculation of the value of the closing stock. That is budget number 6, finished goods budget. Finished goods budget. for both products, which is Waxit and Flexit. Waxit and Flexit. We are calculating the closing stock whenever we come to this budget, where we immediately just say inventory on hands or units of inventory on hand, because this is based on the units that are at the end of the period. So now, because it's the units on hand, we just say units on hand. Units on hand. As I said to you, this is the budget that is based on the value of the finished goods. And our closing inventory on hand, I think we did have our closing inventory on hand. Our closing stock, we do have our closing stock as 36,000 and 13,500. Here is our closing stock. 36,000 and 13,500 is the closing stock. And beside here, the closing stock was given. Remember, we are referring to the closing finished goods. Here was the closing stock, our closing stock 36,000 and 13,500. We take that closing stock, we multiply by the cost of production, that will give us the value of the finished goods. Therefore, now it will be 36,000 and 13,500 and 13,500. Then after we multiply this by cost of production or cost per unit, we multiply this by cost per unit. And our production cost per unit, this is production cost per unit. Our production cost per unit, we just calculated that our cost of production is made of material, is made of labor, is made of overheads. And that gave us the cost of 18 Rand and the cost of 27 Rand. So now that is what we multiply with. We multiply that by 18 and we multiply this by 27. And after we have done that, then this will give us the total of 36,000. Multiply that by 18 and it will be 648,000 rands. This is the value of cost of sales. This is, sorry, the value of the finished goods. Then after we say 13,500, times that by 27, it will give us 364,500. 364,500. This is the value of the finished goods. Inventory value, which is inventory value. It is called inventory value, which is value of finished goods. In other words, value of finished goods, which is value of finished goods. Value of finished goods. Inventory value, value of finished goods. So now that was budget number 6. Very, very simple. In units on hand, that means closing inventory. In other words, closing, this is closing stock. Closing stock units on hand multiplied by the cost per unit, that would give us a value of the finished goods. Therefore, now we go to the last budget, which is budget number 7. And the last budget, which is budget number 7, says that budget number 7 says that budget number 7, it is required of us that we calculate the cost of sales budget. Cost of sales budget, only 2 marks, very short budget too. Cost of sales. Cost of sales budget, a very short budget. Cost of sales budget. Cost of sales budget for product Waxit and product Flexit. Then now our cost of sales, we just take our estimated sales units. Our estimated sales units, that means the units that we expect to sell. And we do have our estimated sales units, and our estimated sales units, they are the estimated or projected sales units, 61,500 and 46,500. So now what do? We just write those 161,500 and 46,500 as they are. Then after we multiply that by cost per unit. We multiply this by cost per unit. And after this has been multiplied by the cost per unit, which is 18 Rand and 27 Rand, it will give us the cost of sales, because these are the units that we expect to sell, and the cost to manufacture these units will be 18 Rand and 27 Rand per unit. And if we multiply the cost to manufacture by the unit that we expect to sell, that becomes the cost of sales. Therefore, now this will be cost of sales. This will be cost of sales. Then let us just recalculate that cost of sales. Recalculate the cost of sales. It will be 61,500. Multiply that by 18. It will give us 1,107,000. And the second one will be 27 times by 46,500. That will give us 1,255,500. So now that is the total of the cost of sales, a very short budget. So now the only budget that I just want to emphasize for the last time is the budget number, which is budget number 5, because I partly made a mistake here in the calculation of this when I was calculating this area. And because of this mistake, I just want to review this budget, then after I am done with this part. Now remember, in this case, we are calculating the manufacturing cost budget. This is number 5, requirement number 5. And as I mentioned to you that manufacturing cost budget, we need direct material, direct labor, and manufacturing overheads. That is all that we need. And we said that our direct material, we have two materials in this case. We have material A and we have material B. And the material A is bought at a specific price, and material B is also bought at a specific price. So now we check how much is the price of material A. And the price of material A is 150 cents, and the price of material B is 2 Rand. So now we said, okay, these are the prices for the materials. Then after we said, okay, here's the price of 150. Then how many kgs of material do we need to manufacture product Wexit? How many kgs of material A that are needed to manufacture product Wexit? So now 1 unit of product Wexit. Then we said we only need 3 kgs of material to produce 1 unit of product Wexit, which is we only need 3 kgs of material A in order to manufacture 1 unit of product Wexit. Then after we said 3 kgs of which material? Material A. How much is the price of material A? It is 150 cents. Therefore now we said 3 kgs. We said 3 kgs. We multiply that by 1 Rand 50 cents. Then after we multiply that by 1 Rand 50 cents, we just said 3 times by 1 Rand 50 cents, and it gave us 4 Rand 50 cents. Therefore now 4 Rand 50 cents is the direct material cost per unit of material A, and we allocated that 4 Rand 50 cents there, the 4 Rand 50 cents. Then after we said we also need material A in product Flexit. We do need material A in product Flexit. And we said how many kgs of material A that are needed to do product Flexit. And we said that we need 4 kgs of material A in order to produce product Flexit. But material A is bought at a price of 1 Rand 50 cents. That is the price of material A. This is material A, and this is the price of material A. So now we said 4 Rand times by 1 Rand 50 cents. Then we said 1 Rand 50 cents. Multiply that by 4. Then let us check. It is 1 Rand 50 cents. We multiply this by 4, and it gave us 6 Rand. Then that 6 Rand was allocated under product Flexit. There is the 6 Rand under product Flexit. Then now we went back to material B. And we said material B. We need material B to manufacture both products, which is product Waxit and product Flexit. and we said material B. We need 3 kgs of material B in order to manufacture product Flexit. And material B is bought at a price of 2 rand. That is the price of material B. Then after we said 3 times that by 2 rand, that gave us 6 rand. So now we said, okay, if it's 6 rand, this will be allocated where? Under product Flexit. Then we went under product Flexit and we saw that there is 6 rand that is allocated there. Then after we said, we also need lastly now other kgs of material B. And in material B, we need 2 kgs of material B in order to complete product Flexit. And that is 2 kgs of material B in order to complete product Flexit. And material B, yes, material B is bought at the price of 2 rand. So now that means we have to say 2 rand times by 2 rand. That will give us 4 rand under product Flexit. Therefore now here was the 4 rand, then everything was completely finished. And we know that our direct labor cost was 3 rand 50 cents. Our direct labor cost, it comes from the 3 rand 50 cents that we calculated previously, and the 8 rand. Then after our overhead was the 4 rand and the 9 rand. Here is the 4 rand and the 9 rand. That's where it comes from. And the total now, which is the total of 10 rand plus 3 rand 50 cents plus 4 rand will give us 18 rand, and 10 rand plus 8 rand plus 9 rand will give us the total of 27 rand. So now that I have clarified to you where I've just made a mistake when I was doing my calculations. Thank you guys. I hope you'll understand something out of this video. God bless you.